Hey homies, have you ever been so hot you thought you might explode and ejaculate to death? Well, bees do. Yeah, let's talk about it. Intro. Just run the intro. Hey homies, welcome back to another episode of Article Corner, where I and Brandy find interesting articles on the web. We talk about it, we discuss it, we bring it to you, and we open the conversation for your input, and we see what you think, because science is interesting. So let's get into this video. As always, if you like what we do, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more. Here we go. If you've ever seen a bee that looks partly exploded, there's a good chance that it died from a not so safe full work death than what you're imagining it, right? Not necessarily like a honey withdrawal or dehydration, or it got jumped by a bunch of wasps. Got jumped by a bunch of wasps and hornets. It turns out that when drones die of extreme heat, the last thing these little boys do is they ejaculate out part of their abdomen. That's right, they ejaculate so hard, their abdomen comes out. Yeah, see? Then you think about dealing with heat by like going outside, going inside, getting some AC, maybe a nice cold cup of water. Have you ever thought about just ejaculating? Think about that. When drones die from shock, they spontaneously ejaculate. Postdoctoral fellow at UBC's Michael Smith Laboratories and expert in bee health, Dr. Allison McAfee, said in a statement, quote, "They have this elaborate endophallus that comes out and is about the size of their own abdomen," which is kind of extreme because, you ever seen a bee? Now imagine that abdomen just coming out through ejaculation. We're just gonna keep saying ejaculate. Skeet, skeet. They just skeet to death. In a study examining die-offs during extreme heat waves in British Columbia, McAfee and her team attempted to find ways of cooling hives to prevent them from, as the University of British Columbia puts it, explosively ejaculating to death. Or as some may call it, death by snoo snoo. That's right, I said death by snoo snoo. They skeet and they're done. After one beekeeper got in touch with photos of dead drones during the 2021 heat wave, McAfee contacted others in the area and found that they had witnessed similar large rates of die-offs, particularly of the smaller starter colonies called nucs. Some beekeepers saw up to half of their nucs dying off. Nucs. N-U-C-S, not N-U-T-S. Not talking about nuts, walnut, peanut, bust a nut, nutcracker, chestnuts. Usually, focus on queen bees as a way of monitoring the environment. McAfee realized the die-offs of the drones could be important too. That's right, sometimes when boys die, it might matter. We all pay attention to queen bee. We know that after 6 hours at 42 degrees, half of the drones will die of heat stress. That's being stressed by the heat because it's too hot. The more sensitive ones start to perish at 2 or 3 hours because they ain't built for this hot life, you know? They in a sauna, they ain't made for this. They don't know what's going on. They're like, ooh, come on, someone turn on the AC, but there ain't no AC coming. So they just die because they ain't built like that. That's a temperature they shouldn't normally experience, right? Because it's extreme. It's kind of what extreme means. But we were seeing drones getting stressed out to the point of death. Sounds like a college kid, really, just stressed to the point of death. Aren't really anyone in the American workforce. As well as deaths diminishing resources bees use to create hives, fewer drones means less genetic diversity. This could lead to less resistance to diseases and other problems, right? Because as we all know, more genetic diversity allows for more mutations and more resistance to either fungus, bee hopping disease, or viruses, and it just makes them overall more resistant. During the heat wave studies, only 40% of the queen bees successfully mated, compared to 75 to 80% mating success in more ideal conditions. To prevent these problems, McAfee tested a few methods of cooling the hives while monitoring the temperature over the heat wave. One method was to give the bees a kind of cooling station, somewhere they could go to cool down, a feeder full of sugar syrup, because they like their sugar and they like that scissor. Bees will naturally go find water to bring back to the hive and fan it with their wings to cool down, which achieves evaporative cooling, right? Which is a cooling mechanism where water evaporates and takes up some of the heat, therefore it cools. It's kind of like when you sweat a little bit, it's kind of like that, right? Because you produce sweat, and as that water evaporates, it cools your body. McAfee explained, giving them syrup nearby should let them do the same thing, and the sugar in it motivates them to take it down faster, right? Because who doesn't like some good sugar water? It's hydrating, I guess. It's basically sugar-addicted bees, which kind of makes sense because they make honey. The other method, though, less adorable, was more effective. Putting styrofoam lids on the hives. Hives with cooling stations were 1.1 degrees Kelvin or 1.98 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the control hives, while those fitted with styrofoam lids were 6.3 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the control hives. What's more, the insulation from the styrofoam kept temperatures more stable longer, keeping the hive warmer at night and cooler during the daytime. So it could be used to protect the bees from the cold during the winter, as well as from the heat during heat waves, and from ejaculating themselves to death in the summer. Because let's be honest, no one wants to just skeet until you die. That's a weird way to go. I don't have any more skeet jokes, like just busting nuts everywhere, just overheated bees just bursting at the crotch. Imagine if people did that. Oh man, it's hot. Be interesting. Everything be painted white. All right, homies, that's gonna do it for me this week. Thank you again for joining us on Article Corner. See you next week. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you like what we do on the channel, please hit the subscribe button. See you again next week. Take care. Be safe. Bye.